Hey friends, what's up? Kaz here. Welcome back to another server admin tutorial or bucket spigot plugin tutorial. If you're joining for the first time, feel free to hit that subscribe button because I do these every week. If you have a suggestion on one you'd like me to do, feel free to comment that in the givels below. That would be the comment section for you new people. And if you find this video remotely helpful, feel free to tap that like button. Shout out to a few people who suggested King of the Hill as made by Subside. This is true. Ruthless Gaming, Screeper20MC, Random King RD, Kiss, Benz, OMG, It's Dano, iPro Dan, who does not have good grammar. So anyway, this is a really cool plugin. It's actually pretty simple once you know the kind of the three grouping of commands, which is your area create, your loot, and your schedule. There's a whole lot of other commands, so let's get into some of those. You can do Koth list, which we don't have any King of the Hills available yet. You can do Koth as member, so you can see which Koth as member should show you how everything looks as to people who are not operators or have permissions to do a lot of the stuff. You can do Koth reload, you could do Koth TP, and then the name of the King of the Hill, and then if you want to specify an area in that, because you can create multiple capture points in a certain King of the Hill, which is really cool. You can do Koth info as well, which is going to show you a lot of different kinds of info that you can look into. You could manually start a King of the Hill by doing Koth start, the name of it, and then a bunch of other commands: capture time, run time, loot amount, and then the loot chests that you want to link to it. And then you could do a graceful stop of it, which is Koth end, and then the name of the King of the Hill, which that's going to end it, give the loot to anybody who is actually still in it, or if nobody's in it, the next person to capture it or step into that or area will get the loot. Or you can just do Koth stop, which is just going to like, nobody gets any loot, that kind of stuff. And then you can do Koth remove to remove all that stuff. So the permissions for all those commands, pretty simple. They all start with koth.admin and then .help to see all that help, the admin help, that is, not the normal member help. You reload, TP, info, start, end, stop, create, remove, edit, all that kind of stuff, which maybe you want to give to some of your mods. Everything else pretty much works right out of the bat, where you don't need to give your permissions to anybody else. So let's get into setting this up. So this kind of has a dependency on world edit because it will use that to select area. So we want to make this the capture point. So we're going to select a little bit higher and a little bit lower and outside of it. And then we're going to do Koth create tutorial. So we've created it now. It's ready to go. We haven't defined the loot or the schedule of when it will run, but if we want to, we can select another area and we can do Koth edit tutorial area. And now we can actually add other areas. So we select it and then we do that create and then name. So if you want to have like multiple towers or multiple points that people can capture, the way that it captures points is once you're in it, you will have it until somebody gets you out of it. The multiple areas is kind of cool, so you can have multiple spots that you can control, and that's all done in that area command, which I'm not really going to go through because I don't want to define those. So next thing we need to do is define the loot stuff, and you can actually do this before you define the area, all that stuff. It doesn't have to be in this order. So we're going to do create, and then we're going to call it loot 1. So we've created that loot list. Now let's get some loot to put in it. Let's give them some wool because that's really helpful. We're gonna put a gold block in there, maybe a diamond block, and then let's do a stone sword and some of that and some of that. Okay. So now the next thing we want to do is Koth loot. We want to edit that chest. So loot 1. There we go. We can put whatever the heck we want in there. You could load it up as much as you want. To get back in it, you just hit that again, and there we go. We can actually rename that by using a rename command with the original loot name and the new name, and then you can actually do loot list to see all available loots. So there we go. Now if we want to set it to spawn in a chest. Now in the config you can actually just immediately give the items to the person who won, which I kind of highly recommend because the chest anybody can get into. So even if the person won and then at the last, they're going to get their loot, they get pushed off, they can't get their stuff. But I'll show you guys how to set this part up. So we're going to do Koth edit tutorial loot set position. So that's going to set the position of the block you're looking at. So this melon is going to be that. And then we're going to go loot, link, and then loot once. So they're going to link that box to that loot. Now, it hasn't actually been set up yet because we haven't scheduled anything. But before we schedule anything, we have to go set our time zone in the configuration. So let's hop over to the config and take a look at that. So here we are in our server. We're going to go into our plugins folder. You can see that there's not a whole lot that is required for this plugin. We can go into there. We're going to open up our config, and then you have to change your time zone. So the time zone is actually on a wiki page that it references. So what you want to do is find your time zone, and this is going to be the name of it. It's going to be whatever continent / whatever. So what we want to do is we want to change it to my time zone, which is going to be America, and then Chicago, which is the closest. Chicago, which is the closest to here, and then we're actually gonna. Now you can use player movement to true. That means that every time a player moves, it's going to make sure that they're in the area. This could have some adverse effects to your server, but feel free, enable, disable it as whatever you want. Now you can change the look of the help commands, which is really cool. You can change some of the loot stuff. You can put it on randomize. You can change it to random amount. So rather than like 2 or whatever you define coming up in the capture or the schedules, you can change that so you don't need to define that. Drop on removal, and then give instantly. That's what you will set to true if you don't want to use the loot chest for that, which is really cool. You can change the minimal players. So if you have the tie-in with factions, which the author says that he's working on or has available, I don't remember, you can require a certain number of people to be in that area to get it, to cap it. You can change the look of the scoreboard, which once we get the schedule going, you guys will see that real quick here. That's pretty much it in the configuration. Let's hop back over and wrap this all up. All right, so here we are back on the server. Let's set up this schedule. So we're gonna do Koth schedule create. Tutorial is the Koth that we're working on, and now you could set a day. So if you want just Monday in here, or you could do daily, and then the time that you want to capture. So we're gonna do 7:55, 1 minute, and then up to 5 minutes it's going to run, and then we're going to do 2 loot amount, and then we're going to link it to the loot 1 loot. So we'll set that. We can see that now it says that it's begun already, so we're going to hop in here, and now we've started capping the tutorial. Now you can see that the melon has disappeared because that's where the chest is going to be. So keep that in mind when you're selecting a block to put it on. Alright, so while we're waiting for that to count down, let's keep talking about the schedule. So we're going to do, you can use Koth schedule list. You can see that it is defined that it's given an ID to each schedule spot. So we want to, if you want to change anything on each one of those, you can do that here. You do Koth schedule edit, and now let's maybe we want to change Sunday to actually run at 8:55 rather than 9. So now we could see that we've changed that one to 8:55. So you can actually run this Koth schedule create again and create another time that it runs. There we go. So now if we do Koth list, we can see that it will now run twice a day, which is really cool. So we've won that. I guess that because we've created that schedule, or we've changed that schedule, it's starting over again. So we gotta wait for that. And then you can actually do Koth schedule remove, and then whatever ID that you want. So we want to remove maybe 13. So we've removed that one. Now let's wait, and I'll show you guys the loot chest here. Okay, so there we go. We've won it. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at our loot. So we've got 2 of the random items in there, and they weren't the first 2, which is really cool. And then that will be there until the start of the next one. So there we go. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. The author is really active in developing this plugin, which is really cool. So feel free to comment on their page. And if you found this helpful, feel free to like. That helps me out a lot. And if you have any questions, your best bet would probably be to comment on the author's page. Like I said, he's very active. So this is Kaz from McFriends, reminding you guys all, enjoy the game. God bless. Round 2. I recorded the entire tutorial without my microphone being on, which is great.